श्रीशैलेशदयापात्रम् धीभक्त्यादिगुणार्णवम् यतीन्द्रप्रवणम् वन्दे रम्यजामातरम् मुनिम् लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भाम् नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ताम् वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् यो नित्यम् अच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणम् प्रपद्ये लोकाचार्याय गुरवे कृष्णपादस्य सूनवे संसारभोगिसन्दष्टजीवजीवातवे नमः।
Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Parama Gurubhyo Namaha, Asmad Sarva Gurubhyo Namaha. So today we have finished our, except for one recording I have of Sutras 105 to 110, we have finished the recordings that I have of Sri Vacana Bhusanam. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue and we're going to read from the most voluminous version that I have, which is Sri Vacana Bhusanam of Pillai Lokacharya with the translation and commentary of Manavala Munigal, and a critical evaluation of the theo-philosophy of post-Ramanuja Sri Vaishnavism by Rangaswamy, Dr. J. Rangaswamy. So we will start with Sutra number 96. So Sutra number 96, I'm not going to attempt all of the Tamil. Occasionally I might attempt some of the Tamil, but if it makes it, we were talking previously about the Atma Gunas in the Bhagavad Gita. These are delineated the different qualities that the soul has, the individual soul, and of course the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Soul. He also has many Atma Gunas. He has unlimited auspicious qualities, Kalyana Gunas, right? But what are the qualities of the soul? So the translation of Sutra number 96 is among the soul qualities, and we discussed some of them in the last. We can recap them if people want to understand what they are. Amongst the Atma Gunas or the soul qualities, tranquility or shama and self-restraint, dharma, are most important. So here, Pillai Lokacharya, he expresses that there are two qualities of the soul which are the most important out of all the different qualities that we read about in Bhagavad Gita, and they are tranquility and self-restraint. So we can, just a thought that I had was in Bhagavad Gita when it's described the different castes are described, the Brahmin, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Shudra. And the Brahmin is also Lord Krishna describes the different types of people in the 7th chapter. He says, Arto Jigyasur Artati Gyani Cha Bharatar Shaba. And he says in the next verse, Gyani Tatvaiva Me Matam, he says that the Gyani is the best of all of them, the person who is in knowledge of the Absolute. He is the best of them. There's the person who's in distress, the person who... These people approach God. There are 4 people that don't approach God and 4 people that approach God. So the 4 types of people that don't approach God, we don't have to worry about them too much. We're talking about here, of course, we're talking about people who surrender to God and they approach God. So in the Bhagavad Gita, there's mentioned the 4 types of people who don't approach. They are Chaturvida Bhajanti Mam Jnana Sukritinojana Arto Jagyasya Artati Jnani Cha Bharatar Shaba is the people who approach God. So the person who's in distress, the person who wants some material gain, the person who is a little inquisitive, and the person who is in knowledge of the Absolute, has some knowledge of the Absolute. To me, now I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but to me these seem to be equivalent to the 4 types of people. Normally we call them castes: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. These 4 types of people, which are originally spoken about in the Varnashram system, which comes from the original Purusha Sukta in the Rig Veda, Brahmanosyamakamasi Bahu Rajan Nikutaha Uru Tarashed Vaishaha Hadvyam Sudro Jayata. So the Brahman is the face, the Kshatriya is the arms, the Uru, the stomach is the Vaishya, and the Sudra is the legs or the feet. And so this is the understanding of from Purusha Sukta. Purusha Sukta means the hymn of man or the hymn of the Supreme Person. Because Purusha can be understood to mean man or Supreme Person. And it's the origin of the caste system in India, this idea in the Veda. But the idea is that the Brahman is the best. The Brahman is the best. And of course, later on, it became a system of caste by birth, but it's not actually supposed to be a system of caste by birth. As we know, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that Chaturvarnam, these four classes of people, Chaturvarnam, Maya Shrishtam, they were created, Shrishta means create, they were created by me, Mom, Krishna. Chaturvarnam Maya Shrishtam, Guna Karma Vibhagasaha, and they are known by the guna and karma, by their qualities and their activities. Okay? So here, getting back to Sri Vacana Bhusanam, they're talking about the qualities, Atma Gunas. So that's what we're talking about, Atma Gunas. So that's why I relate it to the Atma Gunas which are mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. And there were a couple of slokas of Bhagavad Gita which were mentioned in the previous sutras that give a list of all the Atma Gunas. But then also, the Atma Gunas are also listed. They're also listed a little bit in the seventh chapter when they talk about the four types of people who don't turn towards God and the four types of people who do turn towards God. We have the Asuram Bhavamashrita, the Maya Pritigyana, the Naradama, and the I'm trying to remember the sloka. But anyway, there's these four people who don't turn towards God, and the four people that do. So to me, they're almost equivalent to the four castes of people, or the four classes of people. The Brahman, however, is described in terms. Usually, when we hear about Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras, the Sudras and the Vaishyas are sort of explained according to the way they work, and the Brahmins and the Kshatriyas, the higher considered higher classes, they're not really described in terms of what they actually do or work, but in terms of their qualities, their Atma Gunas. So here we're talking about Atma Gunas. So, for instance, the sloka in Bhagavad Gita that deals with the Atma Guna of a Brahman, who is considered to be the Jnani, or the one who is in knowledge of the Absolute, who is looking for moksha, normally, right? Because there are four purusharthas, right? There are four goals of human life. So the goals of human life are what? The goals of human life are Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. I would say in this order we can say they are Kama, Artha, Dharma, and Moksha. So the Shudra, the person who is of this class, of the Shudra class, that person, he wants simply to gratify the senses. And this is his main aim. That's his main aim. The Vaishya wants wealth. He wants to accumulate things. So he wants gain, material gain. The Kshatriya is a little bit inquisitive about spiritual things, but his main is religiosity and righteousness. So he's all about enforcing the laws, right? And then we have the Brahman whose Purushartha is moksha, who is liberate. He's looking towards liberation because he's engaged in serious study and understanding of the scriptures and things. So he understands from the scriptures that the real purpose of human life is moksha, is liberation from this material world of samsara. So now all Vaishnavas are actually like that. All Vaishnavas have come to that, no matter what class of society they come from. They're all thinking that service to the Lord, which is our idea of moksha. Just remember, when I say moksha or liberation, it doesn't just mean sitting around and enjoying oneself, right? As we were talking about in the previous discussion with Dr. Tirunarayana. that there is a concept of kaivalya as a type of moksha called isolation, where one just enjoys the bliss of the self, which can be blissful. The self is satchidananda, the self is full of ananda, but that ananda is less because it is the ananda of the self, right? And I'll give you an example. I think Dr. Alwar also mentioned this. When we were discussing Mokshapati, he mentioned that if we enjoy something, say our favorite food or a favorite activity, right? We enjoy it more if we do it with another person, right? So I may enjoy traveling to other countries. I may enjoy eating a certain type of food, or what if I am eating that along with another person, and I can say, oh, doesn't this taste nice? Or if I can travel to a place and say to the person, oh, look at this sunset, look at this beautiful view, look at this beautiful forest, or this wonderful temple. And if I'm with another person, I enjoy it more. So the idea in moksha is there are different types of moksha. And this idea of kaivalya or isolation is a type of moksha where you're just enjoying things for yourself. It's a very selfish form of moksha. And it's not really the Sri Vaishnava idea of moksha is more of kainkarya or actual service to God. So our idea is that the real moksha is service to God, and there's an active relationship there of give and take between the two people. So it's sort of like self-love and love with another person. So if you love yourself, that's fine, but that's a very, that love is not as great as the love that you can have for another person, with another person. Okay, so getting back to this idea of the Atma Gunas, in the Atma Gunas, these are considered to be the most important, Sama and Dhamma, which means tranquility and self-restraint. So that is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Samo dhamma tapa socham chantimajam amevacha jnanam vijnanam astikam brahma kama swabhavajam. So the Brahma karma, the activities and the qualities of a Brahman or of a higher class person, the person of the highest class, the person who has realized that moksha or divine service to the Lord is the greatest thing and is the greatest goal, that person's qualities should be, first two things mentioned in Bhagavad Gita is Samo, which means Sama, Shama, Dhamma. Samo, Dhamma, Tapa, Socham. Tapa means austerity. Socham means cleanliness, right? Like that. So there are also some other Atma Gunas, some other qualities, but the first two mentioned are the most important. And so that's confirmed here by this sutra. The first two qualities are the most important. So here he says in Sutra 96, the author, meaning Pillai Lokacharya, states that the cause of all the Atmic qualities is nothing else but only the indomitable love of the prapana, the refugee, the person who's surrendered to God, of the Lord. While referring to this fact, there's a question as in the same background, what would be the reason to place the pramanas, what would be the reason to place the pramanas to mention the love of the Lord? And also, as to the sole cause for the detachment of the pleasure, which is acquired from ladies, right? Here, the idea of self-restraint is the example of self-restraint is given in terms of a man wanting to have a relationship with a woman. But of course, self-restraint can be in so many ways. But this is just an extreme example of how there can be self-restraint, right, and tranquility. So for the questions, the author goes through the sutras graciously, and he answers. To say among the soul qualities, tranquility or sama and self-restraint dhamma are the most important means that the soul's qualities, the tranquility and self-restraint, are the most important qualities. In it, tranquility refers to the excuse me, to the control of the inner realm of the mind, of manas, right? So that's what he's defining what tranquility means, what shama means. Tranquility means control of the mind, because we know that there are gyanendriyas, kamendriyas, and then there's the mind, manas. These are 11 sense organs. And self-restraint means control of the 5 sense organs, right? So touching, tasting, smelling, seeing, and touching, tasting, and hearing. Yeah. Or the hands, the skin, the nose, the tongue, the eyes. These are the organs, and the senses are, as I said, smelling, tasting, touching, hearing, and seeing. To touch the same point, Sri Ramanuja in his Gita Bhashya aptly comments on the verse, Shama Satyam, Tamas Satsama, as Tama means that since the external sense organs are leading to yield the demerits of the Atma, they should be controlled from the sensuous pleasures of the worldly order. Shama means to control the mind. As such, in some places, the definitions of the words may be referred to alternatively. Okay, so we should actually look at that. There's a footnote here, 80, footnote 82. Okay, so that's Bhagavad Gita 10.4. Looking for my Bhagavad Gita here. Bhagavad Gita 10.4. Yeah. Intelligence, knowledge, non-delusion, forbearance, truth, restraint, self-control, pleasure, pain, exaltation, depression, fear, and fearlessness. So this is the sloka in the Bhagavad Gita. And what he's saying is that Ramanuja comments in his Gita Bhashya that since the external sense organs are leading to yield the demerits to the Atma, but also merits and demerits. But when we say merits, we mean punya, and when we say demerits, we mean papa or sin. So sin, and the opposite of sin is punya or auspiciousness, right? Therefore, the actions that we take with our senses lead to these things, right? They lead to punya and papa. So that since the external sense organs are leading to yield the demerits to the Atma, they should be controlled from the sensuous pleasures of the worldly order. Does that make sense? Shama means to control the mind as such. So the mind is the cause. So thinking, feeling, and willing. That we first of all, the desire arises in the mind to do something, and then the sense organs are the way that we carry out that desire. So if the mind is controlled, then the sense organs automatically become controlled. Does that make sense? So therefore, tranquility is more important sama or tranquility is more important than the self-restraint, because once we control the mind, self-restraint is already there. Okay. In some places, the definitions of the words may be referred to alternatively. In other words, when these qualities of Shama and Dhamma arise in the mind, all the other qualities by themselves rise in the same place. Okay, so in order to mention these qualities as the primary, in the above sutra, the pramanas are placed as such. So the pramanas for this are there in the Bhagavad Gita, and therefore we've looked at that. In this sutra, so to this sutra, there is also another way to approach upon the introduction. It is the lakshana. Lakshana means the definition, right? It is the lakshana or definition that from the source of the qualities of shama, tranquility, and dhamma, self-restraint, stand as the base from which all the other qualities automatically emerge out. So we can understand that the Atma gunas of the soul are all based on these first two. So not only are they the most important, but they're the origin of the other good qualities. At the same time, it is an upalakshana. An upalakshana, okay, definition is a lakshana. An upalakshana would be a minor definition. It is an upalakshana to the prime lakshana, to the main. So it's a minor definition to point to the main definition, that while the other qualities are emerging out to the quality of leaving away the pleasures acquired from the ladies, which is the example given, right? Or we can say from any sensual pleasure, right? Right. Specifically, this quality of Shama and Dhamma stand as the cause of it, right? So, right. Okay. So there may be also other qualities emerging out of tranquility and self-restraint that help us to. Somebody said in the chat, "I'm wrong, please." I don't understand what that means, Abraham. I don't know. Okay. If you want to write to me something in the chat, please make sure that it's proper English so I understand what you're trying to say, and I'll address it. No problem. So anyway, these Shama and Dhamma, or tranquility and self-restraint, are considered the main thing. Thus, by including this view for the question, what are all the qualities which stand as the most important? So that is the question. The author, through this sutra, graciously answers that among the soul qualities, tranquility and self-restraint are the most important, which is the background. The above commentary as such could be aptly followed in continuation of this particular introduction. So we're giving an introduction to Atma Gunas, explaining the Atma Gunas. After listing them in the previous, I believe, 3 or 4 sutras from 91 to 95, we listed them, and now we're explaining a little bit more which of them are more important, which of them are primary, and out of which these first 2, out of which the others come. So, is there any questions about that? Or we'll go to 97. The translation of Sutra number 97 is, if these 2 qualities, remember the 2 qualities are Shama and Dhamma, which mean tranquility and self-restraint. If these 2 qualities, right, come into existence, the acharya, or the guru, or the teacher, comes within one's hand. If having reached the acharya, the holy mantra comes within one's hand. If having reached the acharya, the holy mantra comes within one's hand. If having reached the holy mantra, the Lord comes within one's hand. If having reached the Lord, the land of attainment, meaning Sri Vaikuntha, comes within one's hand, as stated in, and there's a quotation, and the quotation is, are assured of Vaikuntha, the eternal kingdom of heaven. So, what's he saying here? Very simple. It's really simple. If you can have these two qualities, what are the qualities again? Primary qualities: tranquility and self-restraint, right? And ultimately, the self-restraint arises in the mind by controlling the mind. So what he's saying is, in the previous sutra, he was saying 96, by controlling the mind, then you have self-restraint. And then he's saying in this sutra, by controlling the mind and by self-restraint, right? Then that is basically you're attaining what the guru, what the acharya wants you to attain. You'll attain the acharya, meaning that the acharya is teaching you. What is the acharya teaching you? He's basically just teaching you that. He's teaching you to control the mind and to restrain the senses. Yeah. Okay. So if you do that, then you'll be able to use the holy mantra. What the holy mantras are, like Astakshara mantra, Dvaya mantra, even Charma Sloka, whatever holy mantras you've received, and in the case of other sampradayas, whatever holy mantras they receive, which they're supposed to meditate upon, right? And this comes back to the meaning of the word mantra. What does the word mantra mean? Manaha iti, manaha trayate iti mantraha. Like manaha, or mind, the mind is controlled by a mantra. We help control the mind with a mantra. So if the mind is controlled, we can only use the mantra. If our mind is uncontrolled, there's no point in chanting the mantra. There's no point in we can't even think about the meaning of the mantra if the mind's not controlled. So first of all, the mind has to be controlled. This is also a reason why people do the pranayama. They do go through many steps of meditation before they chant a mantra, because formally, and they should also know the meaning of the mantra. It's said in Chandogya Upanishad, for example, if you don't know the rishi, the seer of the mantra, if you don't know the meter of the mantra, the chanda, if you don't know the devata or the form of God which the mantra is addressing, then it says in Chandogya Upanishad, he says, to some priests, he says, if you don't know these things, then your head will fall off or your head will explode or something. He says to them, you should know these things. Otherwise, what does he mean by that? By your head will fall off? It means that there's no point. There's no point if you don't know the meaning of the mantra, if you don't know the origin of the mantra, if you don't know, then what is the point? In order to know those things, we have to control the mind. So a mantra is also a two-edged sword. It can help us to control the mind, but we also have to control the mind in order to use it properly. And how do we use it properly? In two ways: by chanting it and using it in our devotion, in our service to the Lord, and also by meditating deeply on the meaning of its inner meaning. So, once we achieve the acharya, or the goal of the acharya, right, which is the atma gunas of shama and dhamma, of self-restraint and of tranquility, right, and self-restraint, then the holy mantra comes within our hands. So it becomes possible for us to meditate on the mantras and use the proper mantras. But without those things, it's not possible, right? Then if we can do that, then the Lord, because the Lord is non-different from the mantra, so the Lord actually is attained by that. We attain the Lord, and the Lord is the upaya. The Lord is the upaya. The Lord is the means to moksha. The Lord is the means to the Lord. The Lord is the goal, and the Lord is the means. So we also grasp the Lord by doing that, right? So he says, having reached the holy mantra, the Lord comes into one's hand. Then having reached the Lord, then the land of attainment comes into one's hand. So in other words, then our destination of Paramapada Sri Vaikuntha is going to be obtained. So that's the goal. The goal is to serve the Lord in Sri Vaikuntha, because the best way that we can, of course, we can serve him here also, which is fine. And that's also a goal, an intermediate goal. While we're living, we should also be serving the Lord. But our true goal is to serve him more properly, and in which case, in Sri Vaikuntha, we can serve him more properly. Why? Because there we're completely free of all ignorance. We're in complete knowledge. And we have the ability, we have more abilities than we have here because we're limited here. We're limited because we're covered with ignorance and we have this material body. And so there are many limitations on our service to the Lord here, but there's no limitations on our service to the Lord. So that should be our goal, the position where we can do the greatest service to God. Okay, so then he says, then Sri Vaikuntha is, or the eternal kingdom of heaven is within our hand, it's within our grasp. Is that the goal is reached. So what is he saying? Basically, control the mind, and that's everything. That's everything. Control the mind, control the senses, that's everything. Then everything follows from that. This is the idea. The author of the sutra, as is stated in Sutra 96, graciously describes a series of results while the two qualities, shama and dhamma, or tranquility and sense control, come into existence within the heart of the prapana. Right. So these things will come into existence naturally. These atma gunas will come into existence naturally. So we think, okay, I can't surrender to God because I'm not controlled my mind. I haven't controlled my senses. No, that's not correct. These will come about by doing the surrender, by surrendering to God, by doing the property. And so it's not a matter of first control your mind and then start to chant the mantra, then try to attain the Lord, then approach the Guru, whatever it is. All these things will come about naturally if we simply surrender. So the phrase, if these two come into existence, means, right, because that was the initial phrase of the sutra, if shama and dhamma, tranquility and self-control, come into existence, then everything is attained. That series of things is attained, right? That through it is discussed in Sutra 94. In this sutra, the phrase refers to the fact that the existence of the qualities shama and dhamma to the prapana, refugee, before to accept him by the acharya. In this background, as stating as, quote, if these two come into existence, the acharya comes within one's hand, means that by pleasing to know the qualities which are emerging out of the heart of the prapana, the acharya, with the authority to teach the holy mantra, with its proper meaning to the student, could be within the student's hand, and the acharya, he would be at the disposal of his student. So in other words, many people are looking for an acharya, but the acharya also has to look at the student and has to see, is the student ready to accept the knowledge? Is the student going to benefit by giving him diksha, by me giving him the mantra, by me explaining to him the meaning of the mantra? Is he going to benefit from that? If his mind isn't controlled and his senses are not controlled, then the acharya is going to think, maybe I can't teach him. Even in the case of Ramanujacharya, in Ramanuja's life, Ramanuja was, first of all, in the Gurukula of Yadava Prakash. So Yadava Prakash was a Beta Vadin. He wasn't a Sri Vaishnava. And he was explaining the philosophy of Vedanta in a way that Ramanuja found to be wrong. And so Ramanuja eventually left his Gurukula. While Ramanuja was still in the Gurukula of Yadava Prakash, because he was under the guidance of this Beta Vadin Yadava Prakash, Yamunacharya saw Ramanuja and realized that Ramanuja in the future is going to be a great Acharya and a great Vaishnava and the leader of the Vaishnavas. But he also understood at this particular time he's in the Gurukula of Yadava Prakash, and therefore I can't teach him anything now because he has another teacher. So the teacher also looks at the qualification of the disciples. We think we're in a search for a great teacher. So we look for a great teacher and we look for all these qualities that we want to find in a good teacher. But the teacher also is looking for the qualities in the student in order to give the mantra to the student, or in order to bless the student with the meaning of the mantra, to explain further the esoteric meanings of the mantra, the guru wants to see, the acharya wants to see certain abilities and certain atma gunas, which we're talking about, qualities in the student. So that's why it's said here, if there's tranquility and sense control in the student, then the teacher can easily impart the mantra, the meaning of the mantra, and any very esoteric and secret meanings of the mantra also to the student. He can impart everything to the student. Whereas a teacher might impart a little bit to some students, and he might impart more to other students who he feels are more qualified, like that. So it's up to the student to cultivate sama and dharma, right? This tranquility and sense control, in order for the guru or the teacher to give him, to realize that the student has those things, those qualities, and therefore to give the full expression of his teachings to the student. In the Mundaka Upanishad, it's stated, quote, to the student who is standing very close with purity of heart and controlled senses, that acharya should teach the mantra. From it, he himself factually understood the eternal Purusha, who is also the Satya or truth. To the student who is having the qualities of Sama and Dhamma alone, the acharya should teach this Brahma Vidya. Okay? That's exactly what I just said, right? The teacher, and this is proved by the quotation from the Upanishad, from the Shruti, right? This is the pramana, the Shastra pramana, that the teacher should teach to the student who, and it says who is standing very close to him. Even the word Upanishad means to sit close. Siddhati means to sit. Upani means to sit close. So you sit close to the guru, you sit close to the teacher, because why? Because if you sit further away, it's a very common thing we know. People go in the classroom, and if there's open seating, right, the kids that don't want to be called upon by the teacher too much, or they're not so eager to learn, maybe they don't know so much, right, or they don't have the quality of being very eager to learn, they sit in the back of the classroom. And the kids who are really eager to learn, who are very intelligent, who know a lot, like that, who are very, very want to learn eagerly from the teacher, they sit more close to the teacher. Yeah. So that's a very common experience, Also, sometimes we have the experience that people don't ask any questions. Sometimes people don't ask questions because they're a little bit embarrassed, maybe by the question. It's too simple, or they feel that they don't know how to express the question, or they feel somehow inadequate when asking the question. But sometimes people don't ask the question because they're really not listening. They're really not learning anything. And so it's good to ask questions of the teacher, because the teacher realizes when there's feedback from the class, from the students, the teacher also gets enthused, and he reveals even more secrets. He reveals even more knowledge to the students. So, for example, one time when I used to live in Fiji, one Swami used to come. He was in charge of that place. He used to come and visit every year, and he would give a lecture to the Indian community there, and he would give a lecture. And so at the end of the lecture, the head of the Indian community would get up and say, "Swamiji, you gave a very nice lecture this time. And Swamiji, we remember last time you came, you gave also a very nice lecture. And Swamiji, we hope that next time you come, you'll also give a nice lecture." No questions. So were the people actually listening to what he was saying? There were no questions. So when people say this, "Yes, Swami, very nice what you said," but did they understand it? The teacher has no idea whether they understood what he was saying. Yes, you gave a good lecture. Yes, you gave a good lecture now, and in the future, you're going to give another good lecture. It's almost insulting to a teacher that there are no questions. So the teacher gets really enthused. He gets very much enthused when he gets feedback from the students and they ask a question, even if it's a silly question, even if it's a simple question, whatever it is. There are no, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, maybe some other people are not like this, but in my opinion, there are no stupid questions, there are no silly questions. There are only good questions, because if you ask a question, it means you want to know the answer. If you don't ask a question, it means you know everything. Does it mean you know everything? If I ask, okay, everybody, there's no questions, everybody understands everything perfectly. If you don't understand everything perfectly, then ask a question. Even if you don't know how to ask the question, try to ask the question. So here, this is explaining what the teacher looks for in a student from the Mundaka Upanishad. The teacher is looking for a student who will stand close to him, listen carefully to him, and that person will also have the qualities, these atmagunas of sama and dhamma, of tranquility and sense control. And unto that student, he's going to impart the highest knowledge of Brahma Vidya, and he's going to impart the holy mantras to that student, like that. And somebody who the acharya, the guru, may give a lecture, and somebody shows up and they listen, and at the end they clap and they don't say anything. Because what does Lord Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? He says, Tad vidi paripatrina pariprashnena sevaya. Pariprashnena, the word prashna in Sanskrit means question. So I said, approach a person who knows the truth. Approach a teacher. So we go and we try to approach teachers, different teachers for different things. If we want to learn Sanskrit, to a Sanskrit teacher. If we want to learn about property, to somebody who teaches the whole about property. So we approach those people, right? And we should ask questions. Pariprashnena. And the other thing is seva. You should do some service to him, like that. What is the most basic service that you can do to the acharya, to the teacher? The most basic service that you can do to somebody who's teaching you something. Of course, nowadays we think of, okay, we pay some money to a college and then we go there and we listen and we take the test and we get a degree. So the idea is to remunerate the teacher with some dakshina or some money. But actually, in spiritual things, the remuneration for the teacher is not money. The remuneration for the teacher is if the student learns something. The teacher becomes happy, becomes satisfied, not by getting dakshina from the students, not by getting money from the students. He doesn't care about the money for the students. What the teacher wants is he wants the students to understand. If the students understand, if the students even understand to a greater extent than the teacher, when the student surpasses the teacher is even more happy. Even more happy. We see this even with the Lord and his devotees. Lord Rama had to build a bridge to go to Lanka. Hanuman simply jumped. He was the son of the wind god. He just jumped. Rama is God. Rama could have jumped also to Lanka. He could have shown that he's greater than Hanuman, but he wanted to show the greatness of his devotee. So any teacher is like that. The teacher also remember, the Lord is the original teacher in the Guru Parampara. He's the first teacher. So he wants the student to excel, to be even greater than him. He wants him to learn. He wants him to have realizations. He wants him to become even greater. He wants feedback from the student. If the student says something to him which gives him also more realization, because through all realization, knowledge, and forgetfulness, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, comes from me. So from the super soul, all this knowledge is coming anyway, right? So there's the super soul within the heart of the teacher and the super soul within the heart of the student. So sometimes the teacher is teaching something and the student says something and the teacher realizes. Again, in the life of Ramanujacharya, he went to one teacher 18 times. The number of times that there are chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, he went to his teacher to try to understand the meaning of Om Namo Narayanaya mantra, the Astakshara mantra. He went 18 times and he was told, no, go away. The teacher rejected him and said, go away. Imagine, we're trying to learn something from somebody and we go and they accept us. Even such a great personality as Ramanuja went and tried to learn from a teacher and the teacher rejected him 18 times. And finally, the Lord himself, Sriman Narayana, had to come in the dream of the teacher and say, no, you have to accept him. He has to become a great acharya. You have to accept him and teach him. So, because sometimes it is stated in the scripture that knowledge is personified as Saraswati. She's a great goddess. She's a great lady. She has to be protected. Because she's a lady, she has to be protected. We have to protect knowledge. Sometimes they'll say in English that you cast pearls before swine is a saying in English, that somebody casts is giving the knowledge, but the people are unable to take it. And Lord Krishna even says this in Bhagavad Gita in another way. He says, in the end of Bhagavad Gita, it says, this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita should not be preached to those people who are not devoted, who are not austere. What does austerity mean? Austerity, again, means shama and dhamma, right? Austerity of the mind is shama, tranquility. Austerity of the senses, right, is dhamma. So those people who are not austere, but first of all, devoted, those people who are not devoted to me and who are not austere, this secret knowledge should not be spoken to, right? Krishna says so many times in the Gita, there's secret knowledge, right? Rajavijja, Rajaguhyam. Guhyam, the word Guhyam means secret. The word, this book itself, Sri Vacana Bhusanam, is considered a Rahasya Grantha. Guhyam means secret. Guhya actually means like a cave, a Guhya, right? So if you go in, like it's a secret, it's something inside the cave, right? It's kept in secret. And what I say? Rahasya. Rahasya, the word Rahasya directly in Sanskrit means secret. So what are the secrets? The secrets are the three mantras and the meaning of the three mantras, which you've understood by reading books like Mumukshapadi and Rahasya Trayasaram. These are called Rahasya Granthas, like that. This is also Sri Vacana Bhusanam considered a Rahasya Grantha because it explains more secret doctrines, like that. They're not spoken to everybody. In the history of Sri Vaisnava Sampradaya, there was a time when this esoteric knowledge was not written down even. It wasn't even written down. It was always there. The esoteric knowledge was always there. The secret doctrines were always there. But they were not written down, and they were not also given to every disciple. All these secrets were not imparted to every disciple. The gurus would pick out even one disciple who they thought was the best disciple and to teach the very secret, most secret of secrets, because they want it to be passed down. Evam parampara praptam. Parampara means successive, succession. In the succession, the knowledge has to be passed down. And it shouldn't break, right? Because we know in Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge as it is, with Lord Krishna says, I taught this to the sun god taught it to Manu, and Manu taught it to Ikshvaku. It was passed down. But then he says in course of time, the knowledge was lost. Because if a guru teaches the most secret of secrets to only one disciple, by word of mouth, without writing it down, and then that person dies without teaching it to somebody else, then the knowledge itself is lost, and it has to be re-spoken of by the Lord or by some other means. So this happened in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. It happened that it was being passed down from guru to disciple orally, and it wasn't written down. It wasn't for everybody. There were no printing presses in those days. And there was one great acharya called Vedanti. His Tamil name is Nanjir. He was a sannyasi, and he was a disciple of Parasara Bhatta. So after Ramanuja, if we remember our Guru Parampara, right? So we have Sriman Narayana, Mahalakshmi, right? Vishvaksena, right? Then Amsavatar Vishwaksena is Nam Alwar, the head of the Alwars. After Nam Alwar, Natamuni. After Natamuni, we have Pundarikaksha and Rama Mishra and Pundarikaksha. And then we come down to Yamunacharya. After Yamunacharya, we have Periyanambi or Mahapurna, who was the Diksha Guru of Ramanuja. Ramanuja, of course, had other gurus who were all disciples of Yamunacharya who taught him different things. But basically, in the group, in the Mala Guru Parampara, which we talked about before, right? We have Periyanambi as the link in the chain, as the Diksha Guru, and then to Ramanuja, and from Ramanuja to Embar to his cousin Govinda, and then Parasara Bhatta, and after Parasara Bhatta, who was the disciple of the son of Kuresha, one of the sons of Kuresha, Parasara Bhatta, Vedvyas Bhatta, but Parasara Bhatta specifically, there was a person from Melkote in Karnataka called Vedanti, and that was his Sanskrit name because he was a Vedantin. He spoke about Vedanta, and Parasara Bhatta heard about this person in Sri Ragam, and he heard that he was a great philosopher, and he would defeat many people in debate. And he also heard that he was feeding people. He was feeding many Brahmins every day. So Parasara Bhatta went to Karnataka, and he went to Melkote to defeat this person, and to make him his disciple. He went there, and when he went there, this Vedanti, right? He saw Parasara Bhatta come, and he thought that he would just come to be fed, to be given some bhavana, or to be given some sort of to be fed, to be given food, to feed the Brahmins. So he was a Brahmin. He said, Bhatta said to him, "I've come for alms. I've come to beg alms." Begging alms means I'm begging for you to give me some food. And but he said, "I've come to beg from you." And so Vedanti said, "Okay, you can go to the hall and sit with the other Brahmins, and they'll feed you." So he said, "No. I haven't come to beg for food. I have come to beg you for the alms of a discussion, a philosophical discussion, a dispute, an argument. I want to have a discussion with you. I want to beg the alms of the discussion." Oh, okay. So then they had a big long discussion, and this Vedanti was defeated in philosophy. And he, at that time, in those days, people had less ego, and they realized when a great acharya tells them something, defeats their propositions, they realize that, and they fall at his feet, and they say, "Okay, I admit that you are greater, that you had a better point than me, and you explained everything much better than me from the Shastras, and therefore I want to learn from you more." They had no false ego. So he became his disciple. Vedanti became the disciple of Parasara Bhatta, and he took sannyas at some point. He took sannyas, and so Bhatta used to see him coming from a long distance, because as a sannyasi, he would wear saffron clothes. And so you can easily, because there's very few sannyasis usually, there's more people wearing white clothes. So in a group of people a long way off, if you see the sannyas cloth, you know that there's some sannyasi is coming, right? Brahmacharis in South India, they also wear white. So, so he see him from a long way off, and he would go, "Nanjir." Nan in Tamil means my. Like we have also Nam Perumal. It means our God. So Nam means our, Nan means my, right? So Nanjir, Jir means sannyasi. So you say, "Here comes my sannyasi. Here comes my sannyasi," Parasara Bhatta would say. My student who's a sannyasi. So he is not known as Vedanti anymore. Now he's known as mostly as Nanjir. So Nanjir was also teaching these esoteric meanings. these secret doctrines he was teaching to his disciples. So one day, he was teaching these esoteric meanings to his disciples, Nanjir, and he had a few different disciples, and one of his disciples decided, without taking his permission, that I'm going to write down what he says. He's saying all these secret things. Nobody knows these things, so I should write them down. And what I'll do is I'll write them down without him knowing, and after I write a commentary, after I write the summary of the notes from the lectures that he's giving, secretly, I will present him with that at the end of the lecture, at the end of the course of lectures, and he'll be pleased, without asking the guru. So he did this. This one person did this. I don't remember his name, but we can look it up. And he brought it to Nanjir, and he gave it to Nanjir, and he said, "Here, see, I took notes secretly in my head, and then I wrote everything down, and here it is. Here's your esoteric teachings." And Nanjir said, "You didn't ask me permission to do this. You never asked me." So he said, so therefore he took it and he looked at it. And he actually found many faults in this person's note-taking, and he thought that it was too voluminous. He thought that the way that he had written it out was too complex and too difficult. And so he took it, and it was written on palm leaves, and he dipped it in water to get it wet. And he put it on an anthill, and the ants ate it. So we don't have it. And that's their idea in those days, to keep a secret. So that was all the way up to that. That was after the time of Ramanuja, 2 generations after Ramanuja. So 2 or 3 generations after Ramanuja. So say even 30, 60, 100 years after Ramanuja. Then Nanjir began to think, actually, this is not a bad idea to write down the esoteric mantras, because what happens if somehow or other, the knowledge becomes lost? That would be a great shame. So then he picked out his best student. He was teaching a few people who he considered to be best, not all of his students, and he picked out the best person amongst them, who was called Nampillai, which is Tamil for my son, right? He picked out the person he considered to be his best disciple, and he said, "I give you the permission to you write it out, and if you write it out, then I'll accept, it to be written out." So Nampillai wrote it out, and he presented it to Nanjir, and Nanjir said, "Yes, this is good. This is the length. This is the way it's supposed to be." And he accepted it. So that was when the esoteric meanings were first written down. And then, even up until the time of Pillai Lokacharya, they were not distributed to everybody. They were not taught to everybody. They may have been written down, but they were not taught to everybody. And it was only at the time of Manavala Mahamuni that he got inspired by the Lord in a dream that he should take the esoteric teachings and make them open, public. So we have this Sri Vacana Bhusanam. But before the commentary was written by Manavala Mahamuni, before the commentary was written by Manavala Mahamuni on Mumukshapati, it was not written down and given to everybody. It was also kept very secret. And even up until 50 or 100 years ago, you couldn't say the secret mantras out loud. You couldn't talk about the meanings of the Astakshara mantra in a group where not everybody was initiated. You couldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. Even my experience when 40 years ago, when I went to India and tried to talk to people about some of these esoteric meanings of things, they won't talk to you if you haven't taken Samashrinam. If you can't say formally I'm a disciple of this person and I'm attached to this parampara, they won't teach you. Just like it happened to Ramanuja. Ramanuja himself couldn't get the meaning of the Astakshara mantra, the esoteric meanings, from Goshti Purna, right? He went 18 times and he was denied. So the guru has to decide. The guru decides if he gives the teachings to somebody, how much of the teachings he gives to the person, how deeply and how secret he gives the teachings to a person. So nowadays we're all, we can just go and buy a book and read it, and it's been spread so easily, or we go on the internet and we Google it and we get so many books, so many things. So we should count ourselves very lucky today that we have access to all these esoteric things. So here it is. This is getting back all to the whole point of the quote here from Mundaka Upanishad that explains that the Acharya has to qualify the disciple. It's not just the disciple that's qualifying the Acharya. I picked this person because I feel this person is the best guru for me. Yeah, but what does that guru think about you? What does he think about you? Has he accepted you? Like that. So in a certain sense, there are some gurus like this who are also very picky. Even amongst Sri Vaishnavas, you'll find some people, I know some people, they say, no, I won't initiate foreigners. I won't initiate people who are not Indians, or who are not coming in a Sri Vaishnava family even, or whatever. I won't do that. There are some people like that. Then there are other people who are more liberal, and then there are people who are even more liberal. Ramanuja himself showed the most liberality when he was given the mantra and given the meaning of the mantra. He was told to keep it secret. He was told by Goshipuna, you have to keep this secret. You came 18 times and I denied you, and now I'm giving you the secret knowledge. Now you have to keep it secret. You can't give it to everybody and anybody, right? Like Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge is not to be told. It's not to be taught to people who are not devoted, who are not austere, people who don't have this Atma Gunas, who don't have this Sama and Dhamma. Now, if I was to say, okay, I'm going to make a requirement that anything I teach about property to somebody is dependent upon, first of all, I want to know what your character is. Can you control your mind? Can you control your senses? If you don't have Sama and Dhamma, then I'm not going to teach you anything. I'm not going to reveal to you any secret mantra. I'm not going to reveal to you any secret teaching. If I were to say like that, how much could we spread this? So Ramanuja didn't think like that. He thought his guru told him, people who understand the meaning of this mantra, people who have this mantra and understand the meaning of this mantra, they will go to Vaikuntha. That is stated in the scriptures, right? Akara ukara makara iti om namo narayana iti mantropasakaha Vaikuntha bhuvana lokam gamishyati. The person who worships this mantra, the meaning and the use of this mantra by a person, Vaikuntha bhuvana lokam gamishyati, leads to going to Vaikuntha, to moksha, to eternal service of the Lord, blissful service in heaven, in Vishnu's heaven, Vaikuntha. That's what the Upanishad said. The Shruti, the highest Pramana, says that. So Ramanuja was very impressed by that. He was very impressed by that. And then the Guru also told him, but you can't tell anybody. It's a secret. It's an esoteric secret. Don't tell anybody. It's a secret. So Ramanuja heard the first thing, forgot about the second thing, and immediately climbed the temple tower of the Gopuram. In South India, they have these, over the gates, they have these pyramid type towers. He climbed up on top of that and he immediately said, hey, anybody that can hear me, come close. I don't make any qualification for you. I'm not asking you if you have any Atma Gunas, Sama, Dhamma, if you have a controlled mind, or if you're tranquil and controlling your senses. I don't care about that. Everybody who can hear me, just come close. Listen to this mantra, Om Namo Narayana. By chanting this mantra, by understanding this mantra, you will go to Vaikuntha. You will get moksha. You will get eternal service to the Lord. He told everybody. He didn't think about caste or creed or sex. He didn't think about gender, anything of these things. He just told everybody like that. He was most magnanimous guru. Right? Unlike Gostipurna. Gostipurna, his guru who told him to keep it secret, he was a bit upset when Ramanuja did this. Even Srila Prabhupada tells this story. tells this story. There are maybe two places in the scriptures, very rare, maybe two places in the history of Vaishnavism where we find that a person disobeys his guru and he's considered to be a good thing. Normally, we don't disobey the guru. Teacher tells you to do something, you should do it, and you shouldn't anticipate also, like this person who wrote the commentary and presented it without the permission. The guru didn't like that. The guru wants water, don't bring him milk. Just because you think it's better, the guru wanted water. This is a common story. So Ramanuja knew that he had to, that his guru had told him that you'll go to hell if you disobey my order and you tell people these necessary teachings. But still, Ramanuja, when his guru was angry with him for disobeying him, said, no, I understand that I'll go to hell. I understand that it's transgressing your order. The order of the guru is not to be transgressed. And if one, commits, even in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, they call it the mad elephant offense, to commit an offense to the guru aparada, right? If we offend the devotees of the Lord, or especially the guru, who is also our greatest devotee of the Lord, then that is the greatest offense, and the Lord takes more offense at that than if we offend the Lord directly, right? So we should be very careful not to commit Bhagavata apachara, which means aparada or offense against Bhagavatas or devotees or refugees or prapanas of the Lord, or especially the great ones, especially the great devotees. We have to mahajano yena gata sapanta. We have to follow their footsteps. We not go against what they say. We have to do what they say and not go against what they say. So because Ramanuja did this, he said to his guru, he said, I know because I've done this that I've transgressed your order and therefore I'll go to hell. I'm prepared to go to hell. Because if one person goes to hell, but if everyone else is saved, then that's great. That's a great thing. So Ramanuja told this, that I'm prepared to go to hell as long as everybody else is safe. So he was so magnanimous. So there are two types of gurus. There's the type of guru described here in Mundaka Upanishad, who very carefully looks at the qualities of a disciple before imparting any knowledge at all, what to speak of very intense, esoteric, secret knowledge. And then there's another guru who says, okay, I'm going to be more magnanimous, and I'm going to, even the person I feel is not quite up to standard, or that I would like the person to be a better disciple or a better student, still I'm going to give him as much as possible the esoteric teachings, because it's my mercy, it's my causeless, it's causeless grace of the guru, because it doesn't have a cause. The other guru is saying, oh, because he has shama, because he has tranquility, because he has dhamma, because he has restraint of his senses, therefore he's going to get initiated, right? This is very simple. Oh, you, like when you join ISKCON or something, they say, okay, do this for 6 months or 1 year or 5 years or whatever amount of time. And when we see that you're actually following and doing everything like that, then we bestow the mercy upon you and give you the initiation and the secret mantras and blah, 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 all these things. But we saw, even at the time of Srila Prabhupada, we saw that sometimes they would follow the system like this and wait and see if somebody is actually devoted before giving. And then other times Prabhupada would say, okay, you're initiated. I know people who joined ISKCON and after 1 day or 2 days, they became initiated. I know people like that, and still they're devotees. I also know people who became initiated like that and left. I also know people who spend a long time to become initiated and they left. And I also know people who spend a long time to get initiated and they stayed. So it's not going to, I don't see that it's necessary an indicator. It's an indicator, And even the Hari Bhakti Vilas, we could read in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, it says, what is the time to take the knowledge or to take the initiation from the guru? The time is now. So after going through so many things in the scriptures saying, no, if you want to learn this mantra or sacred mantras, you have to wait until the sun is in the sun is in the Uttarayana, and you have to wait for this. And this month is the best, and this day of this month is the best, and so many astrological things, and you have to meet the right guru, and it has to be in the right place, and it has to be by the side of bank of a river or in a forest or on a mountain. It has to be, so many conditions have to be met, right? And then finally it'll say, but actually the most important thing is you meet the Sadguru, you meet an important teacher who can actually teach you the knowledge. And if you meet him, that's the time. That's the time, right then and there. And all these other restrictions can be thrown out the window. Just immediately. But it's up to the teacher, of course. The teacher has to give the permission. Sometimes we feel it's up to us, when we decide to go to the class of the teacher, or when we decide to approach a particular teacher. But no, it's up to the teacher. And of course, the Lord is impelling us, both teacher and student. The Lord is impelling the teacher and the student to approach each other. But here, anyway, so let's just finish this sutra. While placing the Upanishad as the pramana, or the proof, the commentator of Shruta Prakashika, there's a person called Sudarshana Bhatta, or Shruta Prakashika Bhatta is also what he's called, after he wrote the commentary. Ramanuja wrote 9 books, out of which the magnum opus, the greatest work of Ramanuja, is his commentary on Vedanta Sutra called Shribhashya. And the person who did a sub-commentary on that, which is the most important sub-commentary, is called Shruta Prakashika by Sudarshana Bhatta. That person lived at the same time. He was older contemporary of Vedanta Deshika, who lived in the 14th century. And that person, Sudarshana Bhatta, was killed at the time of one of the raids by the Muslims or the Mughals of Sri Rangam. But the Shruta Prakashika itself, the commentary on Sri Bhashya, was kept intact by Vedanta Deshika throughout that period. So, while placing the Upanishad as the pramana, the commentator of Shruta Prakashika, so this Upanishadic quote that we just had of Mundaka Upanishad about the guru and the disciple, that has come from the commentary of Shruta Prakashika by Sudarshana Bhatta, right? Comments that the qualities of Shama and Dhamma, tranquility and sense restraint, right, as the basic need of the student to reach the hands of the Acharya, as because of it, yes, the restraint of the senses stated, which are useful to hear, the complete restraint of the senses not stated, which are useful for worship. Anyway, that's the commentary. That's a comment from Shruta Prakashika. The phrase, if having reached the Acharya, the holy mantra comes into one's hand, of the sutra has to be explained. As it is stated that the mantra in the hand is in the hands of the Acharya. The mantra is in the hands of the Acharya, because the Acharya is the one who gives the mantra. So the Acharya can give the mantra, or he doesn't have to give the mantra. As we see, the story I just told about Ramanuja, he gave the mantra to everybody and didn't consider who he should give it to. He didn't consider the qualifications of the people he gave it to. As is confirmed in the sutra, which says, holy mantra, which is in the hands of the Acharya. So, if one reached over in the hands of the Acharya, through the teachings by knowing the apt meanings, they may be fixed firmly in the mind of the Prapana, whose qualities of Shama and Dhamma come into existence. Here, since it is stated, quote, and he is understood as a Brahmana, who is in turn has understood about Brahman. Here, the word Brahmana refers to only the Acharya, right? So the Acharya is a person who has understood Brahman, who has understood the Spirit, who has understood the Lord. Not only understood the Lord, but understanding the Lord means also understanding the self. Just like the sun, when the sun rises, when we're not in the middle of the night, there's no light, and we can't see ourselves. So we cannot see the soul. We cannot understand the Atman, the individual self, without understanding God, because God is like the sun. God rises, and we see God, and therefore, when the sun rises, the light comes, and we can see the sun, and we can also see ourselves, like that. So God is full of Kalyana Atma Gunas. The Atma Gunas is what we're talking about. So the Kalyana Atma Gunas, the auspicious qualities of God, are unlimited. The auspicious qualities of the soul are not as unlimited as those of God, but we also contain many of the same qualities as God. Many of the same qualities. So, by understanding the Supreme, here he says, the Acharya, right, is equal to this Brahmana, who understands Brahman, who understands who is God. The person who understands who is God also understands who is the soul, what is the soul, and is therefore can be a teacher. Here the word Brahmana refers only to that, the Acharya. In the next phrase in the sutra, if having reached the holy mantra, the Lord comes within one's hand, has to be explained. As it is stated, the Lord is subjugated by the mantra. Right? So here's the sequence once again. Sama and Dharma. First of all, Sama, tranquility, control the mind. When the mind is controlled, one is tranquil. Then Dharma means restraint of the senses, which only comes about by tranquility. After we can do that, then we can achieve the grace of the Acharya. The Acharya is going to give us the esoteric knowledge. It's going to initiate us into the mantras, right? The mantra is non-different from the Lord, but through the use of the mantra, we can achieve the goal, which is the Lord, which is moksha, which is eternal service to the Lord in Vaikuntha, right? So here it says, right, having achieved the holy mantra, the Lord comes within his hand. So once we have that holy mantra, this is a succession. Once we have the holy mantra, then we can therefore serve the Lord properly. Because we know the holy mantra, we know the meaning of the holy mantra, and we can use the holy mantra when we do our service to the Lord. Whenever we're doing service to the Lord, we're chanting the holy mantra. When we do puja to the Lord, we chant it. When we think about the Lord, we meditate on it. It's used all the time. So, and the meaning of it is something that we should be constantly thinking of. And it is stated, the Lord is subjugated by the mantra. Since the Lord is at the disposal of the holy mantra, it is to be understood by the prapana or refugee with its inner meanings, as stated in the meaning itself. The Lord could become as the upaya or means for the prapana to attain the things which are eagerly wanted by him for the sake to eliminate the things which are unwanted by him. Right? So all good things will come and all bad things will go. Lastly, the phrase in the sutra, if having reached the Lord, the land of attainment comes within one's hand, it is stated that what is assured is Vaikuntha, the eternal kingdom of heaven. It is to be commented. As stated, the upaya vibhutis. The upaya vibhutis. Upaya means the means, and the vibhutis means the decoration or the ornaments of the means. The Lord is the means, and his ornaments are his vibhutis, right? Right. Sometimes we say lila vibhuti. The spiritual world is called nitya vibhuti. The material world is called lila vibhuti. But we know from the Upanishads there's a statement, parasya shakti vividaya shruyate. So vibhutis and shaktis are basically the same thing, powers or embellishments or ornaments of the Lord. These are all things that the Lord possesses. Again, unlimited ananta kalyana guna, or unlimited auspicious qualities, right, are subjugated to the daiva, the ephemeral world, and the eternal world are at the disposal of the prapana, who is having the qualities of sama and dhamma. So not only is Vaikuntha within your reach, right, if you do this, but also this material world is within your reach, because this is also a vibhuti of the Lord. This is also something which is part of the Lord. It's part of his body, right? As we know from the Sharira Shariri Bhava, the concept in Sri Vaishnavism, in Vishishta Dvaita, that God pervades from inside and also outside. So the souls and the world are also part of the body of God, but they're also, the Lord is also inherently pervading the souls and the world, pervading everywhere. That is the real meaning of Vyapaka. So Vishnu means pervading from inside, Vasudeva means pervading from outside, and Narayana, the word Narayana, means pervading from inside and outside. And the word Narayana is the one which is used in the most important mantra, Om Namo Narayana, Astakshara mantra. And that's why that mantra, out of the all three Vyapaka mantras, there are three Vyapaka mantras, or Om Namo Vishnave, which is Sadakshara, right? 6 syllable. The Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, so the mantra, the 12 syllable, or Dwadasakshara mantra, right? These are dealing with Vishnu and with Vasudeva. And the third Vyapaka mantra, which is the most important of them all, Om Namo Narayanaya, because Narayanaya means both Vishnu and Vasudeva, both pervading from inside and from outside, and therefore it's the most important Vyapaka mantra. What do I mean again by Vyapaka? Vyapaka means all pervading. It has to do with pervasiveness, because the Lord is the one who has the quality, the distinctive quality, Lakshana in Sanskrit means the distinguishing quality. What distinguishes the Lord from everything else, from everybody else, is that he pervades with his self everything. By his Swarupa, he pervades everything, whereas others cannot do that. Okay, so as stated, the Upaya Vibhutis are subjugated to the Daiva, the ephemeral world, meaning Paramapada, Sri Vaikuntha, and the ephemeral world, the Nitya, the Lila Vibhuti, this material world, and the eternal world, Paramapada, or Sri Vaikuntha, are both at the disposal of the Prapana, or the refugee, who is having the qualities of Shama and Dhamma, tranquility, and self-restraint and sense restraint. So the Prapana who follows the Upaya, the means, which is nothing but the Lord, would easily attain the state of Sri Vaikuntha, the superior land of attainment. And that is the end of the commentary by Manavala Mamuni on Sutra number 97.